Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 182.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I am your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here. I think you're going to learn a lot today. And I say that because sometimes we're still stuck where we are simply because of some basic skill sets that we don't have. One of the most basic ones that tends to keep a lot of us in a position or a job is not being able to see where that next customer is coming from. And I believe that you're going to get a lot of input about that today, especially from today's guest. Today's guest is Jason Swenk. Now, I love the way some people write their introductions and bios, and you're going to love this one, and you all know why I love this one. He calls himself the defender of truth, justice, and effective business practices, which I love already. Jason has special business and marketing powers. His mission is to save the galaxy one business at a time. And he says that he operates out of his office of solitude in Atlanta, Georgia. Jason makes the most of the in the trenches experience and today's cutting edge business strategies to help innocent businesses defend themselves against villainous competition. You guys know I'm enjoying this already. Now, you got to understand, though, he's done advertising, some digital advertising for companies such as Aflac, Lotus Cars, Hitachi, AT&T, Coke, LegalZoom, companies you have never heard of, right? At the end of the day, we have someone here today who can help you and I figure out to probably how to find that elusive customer. Where's that next deal going to come from? How are you going to write that next offer and make the business grow? Here's some fun things about Jason. He plays as hard as he works. He's an avid off-roader, race car driver, Ironman competitor, and has been known to crash a remote control plane now and again. It's almost going to be like talking to myself today. It's going to be fun. Help me welcome Jason Swenk. Jason, you there?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Glad that you are here. You don't know, but I have this fascination with RC helicopters. And,
yes.
And drones. I recently crashed two of them, in fact, over the weekend when I was doing some filming. It was like awesome. It's like, cool. There goes one. There goes another. All on the same day. It was just pretty awesome. Now, one of the things that I want to do, I ask everybody the same question towards the beginning. I look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. So you've got references to Superman, so I'm sure you know who we're talking about, or Spider-Man and Hulk and the superheroes of yesterday. I think entrepreneurs are the same. They get dressed up occasionally. They wear something special. They use their special powers to go around saving people from themselves, usually using the skill sets that we have and providing them at a profit, et cetera, et cetera. So every superhero, though, before they were super, was, literally just a person. And they have the origin story. So before you were out there, with the 7-figure business, working with high dollar and high name companies, what we want to know is, who is Jason Swenk?
Well, I'm a husband and father first most. But before even that, I was just someone that I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I literally got into business basically designing a website, making fun of one of my friends. And then someone wanted to pay me money to do another one.
I like that. So almost on a dare. Look, that friend that you were making fun of who won that bet?
So I won it. Literally, he looked identical to Justin Timberlake when NSYNC was real popular.
Oh, wow.
So the website I created was called In Shit, and it got really popular pretty quick back in the late 90s.
So for fun, you found a business.
That's right. Yeah, I kind of fell into it. It's kind of like all the businesses, even what I'm doing now, I kind of fell into it. I think it's just about kind of doing whatever you enjoy and love, and then just looking for all the signals and signs of what you actually need to do. Just pay attention.
And you know what? Let's talk about that for a second, because I know there are a number of individuals. I myself having been one of them. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I grew up around talented people, couldn't find my own talent, didn't know what I was going to do. So I guess I'll go work for someone else for a while. How would you today, knowing what you know now, say to someone, here's what you can do to begin to explore and figure this out?
Well, you just got to first start off of what you enjoy doing, and really kind of starting from there. Not now, you don't follow your passion. It's a little different, right? You have to bring your passion to whatever you enjoy and whatever you love, right? So if your passion is around, creating and helping others, you need to find a business that you can do that and bring it to it. But if you enjoy helicopters or crashing RC planes, right? I'm just using that because I crash them all the damn time.
Right.
But and I didn't have this, maybe I would start. And I liked doing videos, and I liked being in front of a camera. Maybe I created a website for reviewing RC planes that were uncrashable, right? So it's kind of around following what you know and what you love doing.
I tell people all the time, it's not so much that the RC world is expensive. It's that the crashes is where the money is. It's like once you can get the device really cheaply. It's the process of learning and then operating it correctly that's where the money comes from. That's where the money comes from. And as a side note, I think a website about watching RC airplanes crash, that would probably do very, very well.
So I used to do that before I got them, and then I just felt like I was like tempting karma. And so I actually started watching them, and then I started crashing. It was kind of like when I race cars, I never try to just go into YouTube and type race cars crashing, because then I'll be thinking about it, right? It's kind of whatever you think about, whatever you focus on, you actually happens.
Yeah, totally. I people just don't understand how much fun what an escape and fun that is. Anyway, you said something, in fact, you said two things that I think are paramount, because I know as the real estate guy, so to speak, many people come to me and the first thing out of their mouth is, Jay, where's the money? What deal should I be doing? Et cetera, et cetera. And I know a lot of people approach their business that way in terms of dollar chasing, for lack of a better way of putting it. What I like about what you said is you want to focus first, and you didn't even bring up money. You said you want to focus first on what you enjoy. How did you learn that?
It takes a while. After I sold my business, I struggled for about 2 years. I didn't know, all my friends were working. So I was like, well, maybe I don't know what kind of business I want to create. So I started developing an iPhone app, and I was like, well, let me sell it for $1 billion. I'm like, then I would start doing things for the money. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. It's kind of like if you ever watched that movie Moneyball, right? Where Brad Pitt plays that Billy Bean, and he said, I'm never going to make a decision again based on money. And I have kind of the same philosophy. And, I think if people do that, they're making the wrong mistake. I mean, and a lot of times when you're starting off too, you're going to take on the wrong clients. Like if you're in the service-based business, right? You're going to take on the wrong clients, even though they're going to be a PIA or pain in the ass later on. And you take them on because you needed the money. And so you're making decisions based on money, which is actually going to cost you. And and you just got to avoid that, So when I was developing that iPhone app and I didn't enjoy it, then I was like, well, maybe I need to work for someone again, which, I ran my company for 12 years until I sold it. And I only worked for a company for 6 months before that, after graduating college. So it was kind of a shock. And then as I was trying to figure out what I really loved doing and what I knew better than most, that's kind of how I fell into what I'm currently doing now. And it's the coolest job in the world. I'm never been happier. But it takes a little bit of soul searching to figure that out. And you just got to look for the signals and the signs. And I'm not preaching to anybody, but you just got to kind of be like, oh man, that's kind of cool. I need to do that.
Right, right. Well, and for me, part of it came because other people told me, "You're good at this." It came from other people because I was blind to what I was good at. I didn't really know, and I was just wondering, was that something you experienced too?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still going through it, right? I'm like, I had to look when people started, like agency owners started reaching out to me saying, how did you get these big clients? How did you sell your business? How did you do this? I had to have a couple people be like, dude, you can charge for this because I was having fun just doing it for free.
Yep.
And I was just helping them out.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, you can make another business out of it and then measure yourself on how much money you're making, that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I'm not going to measure myself on height anymore. So I'm like, so then I started doing that, and it's been awesome, and it's been cool to watch it grow because everybody wants to be a part of something that's growing and to contribute and stuff like that. And yes, but you have to listen to other people.
Well, you can at least measure the height of the stack of cash. That's okay.
That's right. But depends on if you're using Benjamin Franklin's or George Washington's, right?
Yeah, well, definitely, for sure. We'll stick with Franklin for now. So, for those who may not know, tell us a little bit about the business that you sold, because that might give us some information about why you've chosen to do the things that you do.
Yeah, so I ran a digital agency, which we would design websites for really big brands. We would design applications like LegalZoom. We built that application, or we'd create websites for like Aflac or Hitachi, and so or come up with their campaigns. And so we did everything around the digital space, and we did it for 12 years and grew a really good company. And then it was the right offer, right timing, and I wanted to do something else. 12 years is a long time, and so we said, let's go ahead and pull the trigger.
Nice. Totally understood. So what would you call your superhero special ability today? What are you guys out there? How are you saving lives and helping people?
It's really showing businesses how to scale and setting up the right systems, because I'm a true believer that the right systems outperform talent all day long, right? And
yes,
there's
so much so that I want you to repeat that so that everybody who was washing dishes, running on the treadmill, or just heard their screaming kid can hear it again.
Yeah, systems outperform talent all day long. So you're not where you're at because of like how smart you are or what you know, but some things that may be holding you back are the systems that you don't have in place, right? So like I've been measuring my time for the past couple of months of how little I work, right? And so I kind of measure success based on that, even though, my dad always gets mad at me. He's like, dude, you're making a lot of money. Why don't you work that much harder? You make even more. I was like, but don't you work a lot of time and to make a lot of money so you can take time off? And he's like, yes. And so, so we go back and forth on that. But,
right.
So I work less than 100 hours a month. Okay. And I have a 7-figure business and I have one employee. But the reason why I'm able to do this is because I have a lot of systems set up in place, both for generating leads, for increasing profit, for managing internal processes, managing operations, managing cash flow. So I've thought of all these different systems that you need, and I look at how can I delegate, how can I use technology, and and really create the ideal systems.
I think you probably just tweaked some heads right there, because you just told everybody you work less than 40 hours a week. So for everyone who's trying to do the math, 160 hours is kind of what the normal U.S., I know some of you work less in other countries, U.S. worker tends to put in those 40 hours. And you're saying you work less, earn more, and it's because of systems. So now I know the question everyone's going to email me asking if I don't ask you. I need to know what some of those systems are. And if you had a priority to them, which ones would you implement first?
Yeah. So the first one is the clarity system, knowing where you're going to go, right? And so many people kind of fall into business, but they never have that clear vision of where they actually need to go. So they don't have that set plan, and they'll never know when they're going to get there. right? It's kind of like using Google Maps. Right? If you don't know a destination,
Right.
it's completely useless. So you have to have that crystal clear path of where you're going so you know exactly what you can say no to and what you need to say yes to. Because anything that you say yes to, you're saying no to other things, and it could be more important.
Right.
So that's really kind of the first system in figuring that out. Then the next one, and a lot of people think they need to reach everybody, it's all about specializing, right? And so it's really about figuring out what can I specialize in that I can be the authority in my marketplace. So if you're trying to be a generalist and trying to go after, like, let's say you say your target market, small business, you're an idiot, right? You're an idiot. You're acting like an idiot. You're not an idiot, but you're acting like an idiot because you're trying to reach everybody. And then the next system, I really feel, and those first two systems you need before you do anything else, because how can you attack the market? How can you have an outbound strategy of who do I need to reach? Where do I need to go? Who do I need to partner with? How do I bring people to coming to me that are wanting to do business with me, right? And so the first two systems, clarity and specialize, are the most key ones. They're not sexy at all, but they're really not. And it doesn't take that much time to put those together, but those are the foundation that acts for everything else, because then how to have a system for converting. Like when you get into a sales pitch, like how do you run that sales meeting? How do you follow up with those prospects? Are they the right prospects to talk with based on what I'm specializing in and where I'm going? You see how it's all connected?
Yep. I totally get it. I smell what you're stepping in, so to speak. And something has occurred to me, because you said this earlier. You said you had a business going, and for whatever reason, you decided to stop, and then yet you decided to start something new. Most people are trying to get one. You're on the next one. So you've had what we call the superhero moment more than once, where you've had this awakening going, hey, I can serve people here. And not only did you have that moment, even after you got that going, you had the courage to leave that behind, which for some people, they probably need to hear how you develop the courage to leave that behind and still yet develop again that same superhero moment to go, I'm going to go help people over here now.
Yeah. Well, entrepreneurs are good at doing everything, right? They think they are, but you have to be good at saying no, and you have to focus, right? So like I have a motto, what focus means is finish one commitment until success, or until it's not right. Like I knew when I was developing the iPhone app that it didn't match up with my clarity of where I wanted to go. So I knew I needed to say no to that, and I needed to get out quick before I put a lot of years into it and then realized I didn't like it. Right. And so you have to pivot. And some people would say, well, you failed at that business. No, I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, so I stopped it.
Okay. Which I believe so many people listening right now probably feel that way about their current occupation. They know they don't want to do it anymore, but how do they develop the courage to stop it and start what it is that they want to do?
They have to take action. I mean, so a lot of people listening, like when I was a little different when I went to work for some of my friends. I was getting a really nice salary, but at the end of the day, I really didn't need it. So I can make an easier decision, but a lot of people have a cushy job right now, right? They may be getting 100,000, 150, 200, whatever it is, right? And sorry, my Apple Watch, I turned everything off, but not the Apple Watch. Damn you, Steve Jobs.
He reaches from the grave to still affect today.
I know.
Awesome. Well, on the side note, do you like the watch? Because I've been considering it.
Oh, I love it. You got to do it. You'll get it like next year because of the waiting list.
Details. Right. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
But, so you have this cushy job and you're just like, well, I'll kind of do this on the side, this side business, to see if it takes off. Well, you'll never have complete focus on your new business. And you always have that kind of plan B. You got to kind of take that leap and just push through it, because only then will you reach where you're trying to go, because now you're putting 100% of your effort into it. Because, most people trying to do side businesses on the side, they fail and they're like, well, I don't know why it's not working. I'm like, because you're not putting all your effort into it.
Okay, but Jason, that I can hear them screaming. Someone in their car right now is yelling at you virtually saying, "That's scary. I can't do that. Don't you know I have kids and a house and a spouse?" What would you say to that person?
You have a huge motivation. So that's great. I mean, literally,
I like it.
you have to do it, or just always work the 9 to 5. I mean, that's perfectly fine for people, right? But if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's hard work, and if you're not a risk taker, stay at your cushy job. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. You are not a failure. You can be a huge success there. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to build a business where you control your own destiny and you can do everything you want and morph it into whatever you want, then you need to take the risk. You're going to be kicking yourself if you don't, years from now, if you don't.
You're bringing up a very important point because I said to myself a while ago, I'd never wanted to be that parent who said to their kids, "You can do anything you want," and have them be able to point at me and say, "But you didn't try, Dad."
Yep.
There was no way I could live with that. So you're going through this process, and I'm assuming then you've taken, lessons from the first business into the second business, and systems sounds like it's a core piece of every bit of that. But let's break down that clarity system per se, because I find it interesting that you have a system for clarity. I've never heard of someone having said system. I would love to know more. How does one develop, or what does the clarity system look like? I think you're going to be surprised by the answer of what a clarity system looks like. I know that I was, and I will get you back to that in just a second. Wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we are still giving away awesome stuff. And anytime we give away awesome stuff, the only people who have an opportunity to win are those who have star rated and reviewed. If you star rate and review the podcast, make sure you go over to iTunes or cashflowdiarypodcast.com to get that done. You want to be able to leave the written review with your username and you'll be able to go from there. Interestingly, what I want to say to you today is, remember this. Systems are more reliable than you or I ever can or will be. Systems are what make your business work. Systems are what make a house work. Could you imagine if, something other than a system was protecting you from the rain? I mean, the sheeting is a system. That's the roof. That's the exterior. Those are the things that are keeping the bad weather out. That system, when it fails, we call that a leak. And then we want to do something to fix it. And there are many leaks that many of us have inside of our business. And hopefully you are learning to plug them here with a number of the episodes. And for those of you that are members, you are learning. I know you guys are definitely learning to make that happen there. So now let's make sure you get back to one of the most basic systems. As you heard Jason mention, a clarity system. So let's find out what that is and go from there.
Yeah, it's basically knowing, like, mapping out, where do you want to go? What do you want in the next couple years? So I remember when I was running my agency, it was maybe 4 years before we sold, or maybe 3 years. I was completely miserable. I hated it. I was just like, shoot me, whatever. I just wanted to leave. And I remember my wife at the time saying, well, why don't you just shut it down? And at the time we had tons and tons of people working for us. Why don't you shut it down or give it to someone and go work for someone? And she sent me this cool job as a CMO for NASCAR. And obviously I'm a race freak. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I started going through the application process. And as I was going through that, it was asking questions like, where do you want to be in the next couple of years? What do you want to do? What don't you want to do? All this. And I was like, holy cow. I basically was writing out what I wanted to do. And then I said to myself, dummy, I could do this within my own organization. And when I did that, everything changed and we just skyrocketed. So really kind of the clarity system is all about figuring out, where do you want to go? Writing down and mapping out, like basically taking 20 minutes and just writing out, don't worry about grammar, whatever it is, just writing on a piece of paper everything that you want, both in your business and your personal, for the next couple of years. And then take a couple days, and don't show it to anybody, because people are going to poo-poo your idea, the dream squashers out there, right?
I know some. We know some of the same people, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's tons of dream squashers out there. And so literally taking a couple days and then coming back and then doing edits to it. And then going, is this really what I want my life, my business to be like? And then once you do that, then you need to break it up into mini goals. So I live by kind of 90-day goals, right? Both on revenue, what you want to create, that kind of stuff. And then you break it down weekly and daily. And so that's really kind of the clarity system. And then also coming up with a no list of like, here's the no's, here's all the stuff I'm going to say no to, right? I'm not going to meet with people just to meet. Or I'm not going to go to this networking. Like, people always go, Jason, you never go to networking meetings. I was like, yeah, why would I? Because I generate, I tell them, I go, look, I can develop an ad, that I pay $100 a day and generate 80 leads a day. Well, why would I go to a networking event where I can maybe get 2 leads? That doesn't make much sense of my time, right? And so you develop your no list, but that's really around the clarity system.
Well, I love that. What's funny is that I've done those types of things and we have that type of information inside our membership, etc. But I've never called it a clarity system. I didn't realize that's a great phrase for it. I like that 1,000%, because you've got to do something, and to be that focused, specific, as opposed to a wandering generality, because you can only serve so many people, and you don't know, if you don't know what you want out of something, it's going to be difficult for you to go and make that happen. It happens all the time when people come to me or they're at the negotiating table. How do you structure this deal? Well, what do you want out of it first? And they don't know. And then there's just too many options. And that's part of the challenge, is we choke on opportunity over here, because we can go so many different directions. Humans are awesome. That's really what I'm saying at the end of the day. But you said something that truly perked my ears, because I want everyone to understand the leverage that you've now been able to build and how some of these systems work. Because you mentioned, lead generation at the end of the day, because that's exactly one of the skill sets that I think holds people back, is they don't know where their next client or their next, investor, their next whatever, purchaser of their widget is going to come from. But you said, why would I go to a networking group when I can develop an ad, spend $100 a day for 80 leads? Expound on that a little bit, please, sir.
Yeah. So it's all goes down to knowing your audience and knowing what their biggest challenge is, and being able to put goodwill information that actually provides them value in front of them. Like, literally putting your best stuff out there. Like, one of the things, that I saw a lot of businesses relying on is word of mouth. They're like, I asked them, like, how are you generating leads, or how do you generate business? Word of mouth. I'm like, doesn't that scare you because you don't control it? It's not scalable. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And they've never kind of developed a system in order to kind of bring people into their pipeline, build a trust and authority with over time, or sometimes even quicker, and then move them along to, the purchasing decision, or at least making them make a decision, right? That's what I feel the job of marketing is to give people enough information in order to make a decision if it's right for them or if it's not right for them. And so many people just say, well, just go to my website and fill out my contact form, or fill out my RFP form, or whatever it is, or, here's my widget to go on this website, rather than, and sometimes those widgets, or that is a big commitment. And so one of the kind of the methodologies that I've been creating and I'm writing a book around is milestone marketing. It's about basically breaking everything out into mini yeses, right? So you're looking for that big yes. So if I went up to, my wife, a couple years ago, and I pitched marriage on the first date, she would have said no, right?
Well, but actually, it would have been scary had she said yes, though.
Exactly. And some people would, right? That's even scarier. But most normal people outside of the reality television would say no. And so, but if you think about all the different mini yeses that I need to get in order to lead there, It makes it a little easier. And think about what things can I put in front of them that they need help with that can actually help them, which once it helps them, they'll build trust. So, like, for example, everybody knows Best Buy, right? And they got the Geek Squad.
Yes.
Right. So they're always putting out videos on how to get viruses off your computer. And people are like, well, that's kind of stupid for them because now they're not going to use them for the Geek Squad. I'm like, no. When people are having that problem, or if they have that problem, they're going to search for them, or maybe they'll come across an ad for them and be like, oh, I have that problem, but it's nice to know how to do it, but I don't want to do it. So you go do it for me. And then they'll pay them, right? And they're top of mind because they built trust and credibility because they put out an article for free to show you how to do something.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope those of you who have the real estate bent are hearing what Jason is sharing, because the concept of many yeses is critical. I mean, for most normal individuals, the idea of selling or buying a house is one of those, that's a large yes. And you've got to develop and have access to a system that creates many yeses along the way. Yeah. So that by the time you get to the closing table or the time you're ready to write that offer, it's not so large. It's just the logical next step. I love the concept of, Best Buy. So how is someone to how would you work through that process? If you've got a large yes, how do I break it down to the many components?
Yeah. So let's use your housing example, the real estate. Let's say you're looking for a house, right? So that's the big yes. Well, what's the first thing that they need to do, right? They need to figure out, well, where are they looking? Are they actively looking for someone to buy, to lease, to rent, right? Where are they looking for it? Have they already looked at houses? Have they already gone on a showing with you? What types of houses? And what you have, you can automate all this through technology. It's amazing, right? I mean, you could literally even kind of, once someone gets interested of saying like, I go on your website and I see a bunch of listings, but I'm not going to give you all the details of the listing, right? I'm going to intrigue you. And then I'm going to make them opt in, to get more details. And then once they opt in, now I can have a campaign follow back up with them and be like, well, tell me a little bit more of what you're looking for. Why are you moving into this area? So if I know if they have kids, right? Now I can maybe send them school information. I can find out, a lot more. And then you have contingencies built in. So based on if they come on a viewing with you or if they don't, you have all of these different contingencies baked in order to get them to give you little commitments over time.
And the thing that I like about what you're saying, and I want everybody to hear, the commitments that you're getting are not necessarily monetary.
Yes, that's right.
That's really important for people to hear, and I hope you're getting that. Keep going. This is good.
Yeah, I mean, like you could do some kind of free report for the area that they, opt in, and then you have your technology follow up and ask them, how serious are you? Would you like, and you kind of almost change the terminology too within the real estate market rather than a realtor, right? You got maybe like a house advisor. I don't know. That's a bad terminology, but someone that can actually help you with the area, like area advisor or whatever it is. And now you start striking conversation up, but you figure out what they're wanting, what little things can you provide to them that provide them value, and then how can you move them along, right? I mean, you could even create, a webinar, right? Yeah. Off, what to look for in a house, what to look for in, getting the best mortgage. I mean, and you're a real estate agent selling a house, so why would you care about a mortgage? But if you're providing them more information and educating them, you're going to stay, on the top of mind for them, and you're the one, helping them out. They're going to come back to you.
Well, and the key thing to understand, I hope everybody gets, is that most of us we're on the investing side of the world. So it still applies. I mean, you can provide some of the same information, because I know for some of you, especially some of you in Canada, you guys, Edmonton has a really hot market right now. So for those of you up there, you could do that all day long because people want to know about it. Those of you in sunny states and sunny places, you could be the provider of that information. Find a way to be of value. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. educate to dominate. And at the end of the day, I believe you're going to strongly win. So you mentioned a couple of things though, Jason, about how someone could use technology and automation and campaigns. And I've been studying and practicing this online thing for a very, very short time. You have many thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of hours on us here. So in as simple as possible, could you explain what you mean by automation, campaigns, and those types of things?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really about what is the next logical step? Like, if you could take one person and you could map them out perfectly, and you were going to engage with them one on one, and just like, what emails would you send to them? What calls would you call to them? What would you tell them? What would you ask for? And then just drawing a flow chart out of that, and then using technology in order to do that for you, so you don't have to do it. Like, when I get someone in, when I get a lead in, I'm not calling them right away. My system is taking them through multiple campaigns that are all bolted together, and that acts and dynamically acts differently based on how they engage and interact with me. And then only when they get to a certain point and they've qualified, do then they get on the phone with me or whatever. And you could do that within the real estate investing, right? Because, you only want to talk with qualified people. You just don't want to talk with anybody, right? There's always
no.
Yeah, right. So you need to have your technology in order to qualify them. And there's so many cool things that you could do. I mean, even if you use like MailChimp with a basic autoresponder, that's better than nothing. And a lot of people just start off that way, and then they maybe go to systems like Infusionsoft or HubSpot or Marketo or any of those technologies out there that, even if you're bad in technology, you can pay people in order to set it up for you.
Yeah. We started with Aweber, and we have now progressed to Infusionsoft. So it's been a journey of learning, but I'm happy that we have made these changes. We've been able to serve so many more people, and I've spent considerably less time actually on the phone, because it's kind of like automated relationship building to some degree, especially when you start using videos and other mediums to actually make the communication happen, and it feels a little weird, to be honest, Jason.
Yeah, I guess at first it does feel weird, but now it just feels natural, right? It's like, all right, I just obsess about my audience and how I can help and what kind of cool stuff can I put out to help them that I wish I had, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Rather than just focus on how do I get more money, more Benjamins from you, right? Because it's like, I always look at it as you need to help before you sell. And if you help, it's not selling, right?
Right. Yeah. Now you were saying the same thing, just in a different way, because that's exactly the thing that I prefer to do. Now, how does someone, okay, so, but let's talk about that. I'm just now starting my business. I'm brand new, Jason. How can I help anybody when I'm just now starting myself?
Yeah. Well, you need to know that audience that you're going after, that persona, right? You need to know what their biggest challenge is, and be like, and if you don't know their biggest challenge, pick up the damn phone and call someone that you're wanting. Like, that's the perfect audience. Be like, what's the biggest struggle that you're having?
Right.
And then they'll tell you, and then you help them. If you can't help them, you need to find another service.
Yeah, find someone you can help and do it that way.
Like, don't teach someone how to market if you don't know how to market, right? It's kind of like,
that'd be pretty bad.
We had a motto in the agency world called "Eat your own dog food," right? And you see this all the time. Like, you'll go to a web designer's website and it's horrific. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, the dude's not eating his own dog food. Don't eat it.
Yeah. Been there, seen that, and boy, is it scary. In that regard for sure. So, at this particular moment in time, with someone who's been listening and wants to find out more about what you guys are doing, what's going to be like the best way for them to track you down?
It's probably just going to the website, right? So just go to jasonswenk.com. Swenk is spelled Swenk. It's not with an A. I'm not related to Hillary. Um, and so just go to the website. There's a lot of different things. Now, you'll see on the website that it's all focused around agency owners, but that's my target market. But I help people all in many, many different industries, whether if they're trying to generate leads, and there's a program for that. If you go to generateleadseveryday.com, that will basically walk you through the systems that I use to generate all the leads I do and not spend too much. So those are probably the two best ways. And, just go to the website and say hello.
Got it. Now, one of the final questions here as we wrap up, because I got to know, well, actually two. I'm assuming you like comic books and superheroes?
I do, but I've never read them. But I used to be a cartoonist.
I see. I was wondering why all the just the references in your bio were telling. I'm just like, he's gotta like superheroes or something was going on. So go ahead.
So we want. Well, the name of the company that I sold was Solar Velocity, and so the theme that we built around that was around superheroes and celestial stuff. And so this has been my bio for years and years. So we basically created our own titles like Company Commander and all that kind of stuff. And so I just morphed it over to here.
Got it. I knew there was a story there. I just had to ask. But let's pretend for a moment that someone is standing outside the superhero store right now. They're ready to pick out their cape, their outfit. They think they actually want a mask, but they're not quite sure if their idea is really going to work. Is anyone really going to buy this thing? Can I do it? All of those things and self-doubting questions that come up to each and every person who considers the idea of being a superhero or entrepreneur in any way, shape, or form. If you could, Jason, say something to them that you knew they would absolutely follow through on, what would that be?
Oh, I'm going to steal the tagline of a great commodity sneaker company. Just do it.
It's funny how consistent that message is, right? It's like they couldn't have ever come up with anything better, could they?
No. I mean, you're not going to know if it's going to work unless you do it. And you're going to regret if you don't do it. So, you just got to do it. Just do it.
Right. It's like no matter how you try to jazz it up or make it sound special, just do it. That's just really what it comes down to.
That's it.
Well, Jason, I want to say I appreciate you taking the time to invest here with us at the Cashflow Diary.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. So what does that mean? That means go over to jasonswenk.com, generateleadseveryday.com. Figure it out. Get it started. Find a problem that you can solve and solve it. Guys, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.